split community. Nearly all faculty and staff were using PopMail with a Thunderbird client, and our administrative staff were on Outlook and Exchange. The drive started us down this road. In 2008, we were hearing from students and faculty that they wanted Google Mail. Students wanted bigger mailboxes. We were not offering them very big PopMail, and they specifically were requesting Google Mail. Our government lobbied information systems to switch them to Google Mail. This was at a joint student faculty administration leadership conference we have every September. They put that center piece of one the agenda. We're hearing from as well. They were wanting Google Docs to use with their classes. Some that had personal Google accounts became familiar with it, and they wanted to use that to improve collaboration inside their classes. We did hear a lot from faculty about wanting to improve their mail. They were quite happy with Thunderbird by and large. All faculty have fairly up-to-date laptops that we support centrally and get with them everywhere they go, and so they weren't particularly eager to change mail systems, but they were eager to get Google Docs. Administrative staff, we heard nothing from them about changing. They were on Outlook and Exchange and were happy. So the push was coming from students, quite oddly, and from a subset of the faculty who were familiar with Google Docs and wanted as a tool for their courses. Now, one driver for me was cost. We were facing a rather expensive upgrade of our Exchange infrastructure, and so the fact that Google Mail was going to be a lower cost solution was something we were quite interested in. So the way things moved, the following spring, we had done enough work to see that this would be an attractive move for putting our students on there. We ran that by our governance groups, and they approved it without a solicitation. They thought Google Mail would be fine. People weren't so worried about the kind of mail that students had. We also began the process of investigating it for faculty and staff. Let me finish up the timing on students. So we moved all incoming students to Google Mail the following summer as they were admitted, and then the following January of 2010, moved all students to Google. So just over a year ago, July of last year, we began a study to see if this would be appropriate for faculty and staff. We started with 22 pilot, mostly from information systems, plus a half dozen faculty, techies that wanted to help us explore it. Their charge was simple. Do you see any deal killers here? Do you see any reason this doesn't look like it'd be ready for prime time at Wake Forest? We had not seen any. We came within 48 hours of pulling the plug because of lack of calendar proxy. But, boom, just in time, and that was the only thing that we had seen that looked like it would have stopped it being appropriate for campus-wide. And so in October, our governance groups blessed going on to another phase. The entire information systems department and other volunteers across campus, about 200 users total. The volunteers were by and large techies and information systems, as you're all aware. Not everybody in an IT department is a techie, and so we mix. And we're preparing to bring the governance bodies for a decision to go to phase 3. We did hold open forums. I would emphasize the importance of this for us. In our community, it is very important to be able to get questions answered, be able to state their concerns, and have the best in an open forum before their peers. It's not good enough to be able to have a one-on-one. They think for very good reasons want to have the open forum so they can make the case again think is a bad idea for things they think are good ideas, and it it's sort of a little more careful about what we say if we're saying it to 100 or 200 people instead of just one. I think they feel more confident that they can hold us to any answers we give. And so we had open forums. We covered all questions and kept a running list of questions and answered on a web page. And so after those forums and after collecting a lot of questions and features we need to be looking for, we went before our governance groups and they approved our phase pilot. The pilot added 2 administrative departments and 2 academic departments, so there are 85 users. And so we continued with that. We polled users. Then we collected feedback, and then the governance groups approved migration of the entire campus to Google. April was when they made that decision. In May, we had an early zero training migration. So these were the people who were saying, "Get out of my way. Why are you taking so long? You've been talking about this for the better part of the year. Just let me on it." And so he said, "No training. We want you." Was our big Google and Google week. Over a weekend, we migrated almost everyone on campus. And on the Monday morning following, we had lots of training classes and classes the week. Set up a big lounge in the center of campus with people to answer questions, help people with migration of data, that kind of thing. Had balloons, badges, giveaways, made a party out of it. This is one that I would particularly recommend, but we did have the University Advancement Department did not want to move in June, and they wanted the president to move with them since they spend a lot of time managing his calendar. And the vice presidents followed the president, assistants. And then in December were the few people for whom the June and July migrations did not work. And so that was this weekend. And I've had everybody on since June. Some of the questions that I would like to share with you about the adoption migration process. The most questions we have are about security, and there are really three facets to that. They're worried about can people get in? You know, how is Google secure to Wake Forest? And so we were able to point to the Google security documents. We were able to educate them a bit about the limits of what any IT organization can do, and did assert that we were not in any way compromising security by going to Google. And I would guess that we are moving forward. I would even go so far as to share the rogue sysadmin issue with users as they talked about that. Fear of Google doing data mining. And we were prepared to talk about the difference between Google Apps for education and the personal Google Mail, no ads and no data mining. And of course, they worry about snooping by the government, and that when we send unencrypted mail, it can still be detected by the government even on our previous infrastructure. So I mentioned open forums earlier. Let me emphasize that. Learn from other universities. We have appreciated other universities share their experiences with us. That helped us prepare for a smooth transition, and especially thanks to Brown and Michael Pickett. We very soon rolled out the timeline you saw on the previous slides with the checkpoints. We made it clear that this would not be an information systems decision, that members of the committee would comment, and it would be made by our governance groups. Communicate. Every newsletter, every provost newsletter, we were putting word out there, getting on the agenda at faculty meetings, meeting with the different schools. As migration time approached, it was important to have preview sessions. Something to realize is that many people have never used an email system except the one that they're using now. So they don't know that email can be any different, or that another email system much the same. And so when they come in and see, oh, there's a compose button, I can send an email, oh, I can click on a message and read it, that's reassuring. If you haven't used another email system, you don't, most of them look pretty much the same. And so the pre-purchase were important. Instances are critical to success. Official users on campus get work done through the administrative assistants, and especially around calendar, they're making more intensive use of calendar sharing than anyone else on campus. It's important that they be prepared for success, that they have all the help they need, brought on board early and throughout the process. Learned too is the importance of getting people into training classes. A lot of folks think, well, it's a web page. If you can from Amazon.com, you can use Google Mail, and it's so true. But also came to realize that classes are an important opportunity to shape perceptions about Google Mail, and to give them an awareness of the functionality of Google Mail. Is that how people approach the first difficulty encounter depends on their perceptions of whether Google upgrade or downgrade. Suppose a person thinks you're downgrading to save money. Counter something that they don't know how to do, they'll say, well, it's Google, of course it won't do it. It's not Outlook, it's not Exchange. So it ends there. They don't call anyone, they don't go on the web, they don't seek help, they just assume that this is one more confirmation that they have been downgraded. If it's a fan of Google Mail and they encounter something that they don't know how to do, they say, well, it's Google Mail. Of course do it. Let me go looking how. And they'll go Google for an answer, call the help desk. And so you can do a lot to shape those perceptions by getting people into a training class. Be excited, show them all the cool things it'll do, and especially some of the things that it will do that Outlook would not. And we push the web interface hard. The natural inclination is to do things in the same way you have done them in the past, with the Outlook client or the Thunderbird client with the Google backend. To do that, we'll be happy to help you. We can set you up in 5 or 10 minutes. It'll work less the way it has in the past. But this will have is Outlook. We were conveying to them that missed the opportunities for the feature enhancements of Google if you just use an Outlook or Thunderbird client with Google as the back end. And that's also convey the message, this is an upgrade. We're doing this to move you forward, not just or even primarily to save money. And I think in a rational world, one would not switch to Google to save money. Places are seeing about what we saw, that we were guessing we save roughly $1 per user per year. Well, any significant fraction of the productivity of someone with this central business tool for business decisions. Of course, we deal with poor decisions from time to time, but over again is we should be making this move only if it is an upgrade for us. That was important. It affects perceptions. It affects the success of users if they switch, if they perceive this as an upgrade. We heard from our faculty and people that were using Google Docs a lot that it was an important collaborative tool. I was surprised to see how much Docs changed our group work, our committee work. One of the first things we did is began using Google Docs for our agenda, and groups and committees could contribute to it, and we would edit agendas live and they would evolve into notes and minutes on the meeting. What really connected with me the first time was when we began brief the governance groups for the final decision. project manager had collected feedback from the survey of our Phase 3 pilot users. We asked them to list everything they saw that what that Google won't do that you would like to do that you could do before, the functionality gaps. Also list the things that Google will do that you could not do before that you've been pleased to find. Google Doc, we shared that with 20 frequent contributors to sort of internal Google support listserv. We said, okay, this is what users have told us, vet it. We shared it at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. Every member of that group had inserted comments, and there was dialogue around each of those comments. Legitimate criticism, but you can get by using Outlook as a client. No, correct. This is the way you do that. Well, then when we started, but Google has added this feature since we started, and so we were able to classify that in different groups, in the different categories. I took that feedback, created a briefing document, shared back with the group, and I said, "This is what I think you said. Please tell me if I properly captured it." They went through it the next day. By the end of the day, I had a briefing document, and it was accurate. I'd not seen such a thorough assessment of a document without having a meeting. It really worked very well. Share Google examples that we have here. Well, we stole the template for our Google Apps training page here and customized it for Wake Forest. We looked at how easy that was to use. We've moved our information systems knowledge base onto Google Sites. We have found that it seems to work a lot better in our environment, our workflow. Everybody loves the searchability. They like the ability to edit and the revision history, which is a good audit trail. And we're using this as the project tracking documents for communicating with our users. So we have in this study an upgrade of our ERP. This is tracking the project, communicating with the users. That's been a very another surprise was how rapidly Google Apps keeps evolving and improving. Number 3, it's really might be included in a presentation like this, but I happen with a number of our power users, and by power users, not necessarily techies. Our dean of the college both switched from thinking that Google Mail was pretty good to thinking it was fantastic when they discovered keyboard shortcuts. People dealing with 150 emails a day, it's more efficient that can be for labeling, replying, filing. Last thing is realizing that a lot of the individual features we saw not be viewed in isolation. One of the first things I did when I moved to Google Mail was to turn off conversations view. And a person in respect told me I was an idiot for doing so. So I turned it on, gave it a couple of weeks. The way that flows with labels and the way a lot of other things work together, it really does improve my mail workflow quite a bit. Form sheets, sites, and calendar really work together rather well. We got a request from a registrar's office asking for a way to authenticate requests for pages, and we were able to throw up something with a Google form very quickly. And lots and lots of little things like that have just turned out to make our lives easier. With this one quote from a pilot participant who, as we were approaching a decision point, this to anyone who he got an address for, and said, "I have told anyone who would listen recently that the switch to Google Apps has created the most significant enhancement to my performance and workflow since I started at Wake Forest. And when the whole campus is on the system, I see much more improvement. That's all I have to share with you. Let's throw it open to questions.
One question, Rick. This is Jordan again. A lot of times when we're talking to other schools thinking about deploying for their faculty and staff, one of the topics I hear come up quite often is training, especially for the power users that are administrative assistants, specifically around Google Calendar and sharing. Specific things that you addressed or showed to those users in having them switch over?
We did have special classes for administrative assistants by themselves because their needs are very similar, and we had the administrative assistants from the IT department sit in on those sessions and share their own experiences. And so showing them how to set up shared resource calendars and how to manage those and be calendar proxies, was really critical. It was very important to get the administrative assistants on board.
Around, in collaboration after using Google Apps.
They do like the ability to some of the work of maintaining